I'll do it a little softer this time.
Thank you for sharing your screen, Matt.
Yep.
What is that feedback?
I think it might be
somebody talking in the background.
It was Courtney. Courtney said it was that.
Okay.
Here we go.
It was
Is it just Heather and Amy chat side, or are Danielle and Kathleen in there too? I'm not sure who.
I think Danielle says she would be chat side too.
Okay.
I think Kathleen said so too.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kentucky Go Digital Live. I am so happy to be here with you today. It is our last Kentucky Go Digital Live before the new year. Let's get 2020 the heck out of here. We are so done with it. I hope 2021 is better. I don't want to jinx anything by saying anything further. So my name is DJ Matty B. I'm incredibly excited to be leading the show for you. I'm kicking us off today, and I am super excited to be joined by our incredible Kentucky Go Digital Live team below that you see. So we have Elaine Abernatha, who's a digital innovation leader for JCPS, running things behind the scenes on OBS. In the chat, we have Heather Worrell, who's the EA of digital innovation for JCPS. Also in the chat, we have Amy Buss, who's the instructional technology coordinator for Warren County. We have Dana Dowdy with us here video side, who's the digital learning coach for Graves County Schools. Chat side, we have Danielle Washburn, another digital innovation leader for JCPS. We have video side Courtney DeRossett, field staff for KDE. We have chat side Kathleen Receiver, digital innovation leader at JCPS. I believe, I don't see her here, so I'm assuming chat side as well. We have Angie White, who is the Director of Instructional Technology for Oldham County Schools. And it's so fitting that that is the only time I've gotten her title correct this whole time that we've been doing these live episodes. We have Heidi Nelner, who's the Digital Learning Coach for Fort Thomas Independent Schools. And finally, we're joined by the one, the only James Allen, who's the statewide school library lead and digital learning coach lead. So thank you for being here with us, everyone. And hello to all of you joining us in the YouTube chat, watching us live, or if you're watching us recorded, hello to you as well. Great to have you here on YouTube. Like we said, we have several of our ladies taking questions from you in the YouTube live chat. Please make sure you drop in there, introduce yourself, let us know what you teach, what county you're from, what state you're from if you're joining us from outside of Kentucky, and we are incredibly happy to have you here. If you don't have the chat capability, make sure that you sign into YouTube and that you go ahead and subscribe while you're there. That way you can be notified whenever we go live and whenever we have new videos that pop up for you. It is time to hear from some awesome leaders, not only just from, like, they're not just the best that JCPS has to offer, they're some of the best that the state of Kentucky has to offer. We have Sade Graves, one of my favorite people that I've ever worked with. She is the library media specialist at the Grace James Academy of Excellence here in Louisville and JCPS. And then we have Dr. Lynn Reynolds, the Director of Library Media Services at JCPS, here to share about leading from the library virtually. It is great to have both of you today. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. And with an introduction like that, I hope we don't disappoint.
For real.
It's impossible.
All right. Well, Dr. Reynolds and I were talking, and we decided that what we would do is I would share a little bit about how I lead from the librarian's perspective, and then she's going to share from the district's perspective, being the queen bee in charge. Share my screen, which are the favorite words of 2020. I'm going to share my screen, and I'll go ahead and take you into my presentation for today, if that works.
That looks awesome, Sade.
All right, so I am Sade Graves, like Matt said, and that is my Twitter handle, because if anybody who knows me knows anything about me, I love to tweet. So if you want to connect on Twitter, it's Sade Graves, JCPS, and I would love to see what you're doing and for you to also see what I'm doing, because that is one of the best places to get some ideas. So just jumping into my presentation, a little bit about me. This is my 12th year in education, my 6th year as a library media specialist. I have been a librarian in Texas. I was the librarian at the Kentucky School for the Blind for a year. I was a librarian at Jacob Elementary for 3 years, and now at Grace James Academy of Excellence, which is truly like the best job ever. I just cannot say how much I love this job so much. Grace James Academy, for those of you who do not know, is a brand new school in JCPS for females of color. So we serve 150 beautiful and brilliant gems, and GEMS stands for Girls Excelling in Math and Science. I want to give a shout out to my coworker, Shashrey McCormick, for giving me that term of beautiful and brilliant. I think that everybody deserves to be called that on a daily basis, which we try to instill in our girls, because they truly are beautiful and brilliant. So like I said, we have 150 girls, and we're brand new, just starting out in August. So my library program is pretty new, but I came in just really excited to try out some new things. Even though we're in NTI, I'm just ready to serve the girls and give them what they need to be lifelong readers and lifelong learners. So a little bit more about our school is that we have 3 school focuses at our school. We are focused on an Afrocentric curriculum, gender-specific curriculum, and a STEAM curriculum. So I say that because everything that I try to do for our girls, I try to root in those 3 focus that we have at our school. And in addition to that, I also try to make sure that I pay attention to the 3 pillars of JCPS, which are our backpack of success skills, racial equity, and culture and climate. And so just for a second, I want to point out that everything that I'm going to share today is also on my lib guide, which I know Dr. Reynolds will speak a little bit about. But I just pulled some bits and pieces together from what I've been doing with the girls throughout this short time that I've been with them. And again, the library program is just starting out since August. We're in the building stages. So I am going to share what I've been doing so far and what has been working for me. All right. So, as some people may or may not know, the acronym that libraries and JCPS follow is LEAD, which stands for Literacy, Engaged Inquiry, Access, and Digital Skills. So, when I'm thinking about topics or things that I want to do with the library, I also try to think about it from this lens. So, if you consider, I have the Afrocentric curriculum, the gender specific, the STEAM curriculum, the JCPS pillars, and our libraries lead literacy, engaged inquiry, and access. That's a lot of lenses to look through, but I feel like all of it can be tied together if you think and you're thoughtful in the way that you plan out your initiatives. So when I first started the year, I was really into Bitmojis, like really into Bitmoji classrooms, like a lot of educators were. And I thought that it was really a great way to engage students and get them to be able to understand who we are as people or the resources that are available to them. I mean, I was creating these things first thing in the morning and right before I went to bed at night. I really thought I was going to have to join a 12-step program because I created so many of them. But I thought that they were really beneficial because they were a great way to organize our resources. For instance, this is one that I have on my lib guide that shows some gender specific stories of strong women that could help the girls really to come into their own as strong women. And it's engaging for the kids because they really like to look at something that's colorful, something that's creative, something that really catches their eye rather than me just listing the books out on a doc. So I thought that that was beneficial for the girls. Another thing that I really liked about the Bitmoji classrooms is that even though we're in NCI, they can be pretty powerful in that they can allow the students to see your personality or see things that you like. And, you know, it's really important for relationships for students to see you as an actual human being and not just this Wizard of Oz behind a screen. So that's another reason why I was really into them, is because I really thought that they gave the girls a window into who is Miss Graves. So I started out with Bitmojis, but then after a little bit, I started to really want to get into why libraries are really great, which is engaging students in literacy, which is the first of that acronym, which is the L in LEAD. And so when I was thinking about literacy, I wanted to think about what types of initiatives that I want to have around literacy. And I wanted to promote reading. I wanted to include our Afrocentric framework, and I wanted to include diverse characters. And so when we think about diverse characters, I really like this graphic that is on the screen. And many people have probably seen it before. When we think about literature, it is really like a mirror to the world around you. And so if we look at the young boy on the right hand side, he's a white male. He has mirrors all around him, which means when he picks up a book, he is able to visualize himself as a king or as an astronaut or as a scientist. All of those characters that he sees in books show him what he has the possibility of being when he grows up. But when we look at the next represented person in literature or represented figure in literature, we have animals representing 27% of characters. And then after that, we have African Americans only representing 10%. Now, granted, this graphic was created in 2018, but it still lets you know that when our girls, who I serve, pick up books, they sometimes will have a difficult time seeing themselves represented in books. And that is problematic because they will see if I'm not shown here as a lawyer, if I'm not shown as a doctor, if I'm not shown just simply enjoying life, what does that say about my value? So for me as a librarian, one of my charges is to show students diverse characters, is to show them represented in books. And so that is where I have taken the literacy at Grace James. So with reading promotion, one of the things that I'm really fortunate to be a part of JCPS is that we during NTI have been able to give students access to ebooks. And like I said, right on my LibGuide, students can go to NTI online books and resources and write from their iPad. Because we are a VIL school, they can go to Sora and they can look at titles that we own and check out those books and read right at home. During this healthy at home or quarantine, if you want to call it, it can be difficult for students to get reading material, but being in JCPS, it has really afforded the opportunity to have those digital resources for students, which has allowed them to continue to read at home. And when I combined our literacy with our Afrocentric framework, a lot of times I get these ideas where I'm just kind of relaxing and then an idea will pop in my head. Well, I've seen a lot of librarians use book flicks before, which is just like Netflix, but you organize the books based around topics. And so at Grace James Academy, we have an Afrocentric framework, which is the driving force behind our curriculum. So every grading period, we have a theme that we all, as teachers, academic coaches, counselors, in our advisory groups, which are called our sister circle, we focus on those themes. So the first three were identity and narrative, humanity, and justice and oppression. So those were the first three themes for our first three grading periods. So what I did was I created a book flicks that is based around, that has titles based around those themes. So this is just an opportunity for the girls to have a more developed understanding of the theme for that particular grading period. So each of these books that is under identity and narrative will help them to form what it really means to truly shape your identity and how your life experiences shape your identity and your view of the world around you. And then each of these focus on humanity and compassion. And lastly, the unit that we're currently in is justice and oppression, which allows students to think about how can communities support oppressed and marginalized people. So not only did I create that book flicks for students, but I also wanted them to use the digital books to sample as many of them. And when they're finished sampling them, then they go to a Jamboard, which I didn't link right here because I didn't want student names forward facing for everyone to see. But they go to a Jamboard and they add their name and say that they are watching book flicks, which I've had a great amount of success with. Even if they're just sampling it, it's a chance for them to see, is this something that I want to read, or is this something that I want to pass on? And another thing that I've done on my LibGuide is to really break down those units to give students a better understanding of the vocabulary that is a part of that unit so that they can be more successful in their classes by gaining the understanding on their own of those topics. So that is what I'm doing in the way of literacy with my students. Also, I have that Afrocentric framework as a book challenge, which I know a lot of librarians in JCPS are utilizing. So when they do complete a book using the book flicks, they will come to this Google form that I've set up, and what they will do is select the book that they read, and they will answer questions based around that book that are also based around the theme that we're studying for the 6 weeks. and that will enter them into our 40 book challenge, which again, I know a lot of libraries are doing, which encourages them to read at home. When I talked about diverse characters, something else that I do to expose students to diverse characters is every week I do something called First Chapter Fridays. I've seen librarians from all across the nation using First Chapter Fridays. And what I do with First Chapter Friday is I read the first chapter of a book, and then I insert the recording or the audio into a slide so that they can listen to it right from their iPad. But in addition to that audio, I insert different materials that correlate with that book. For instance, From the Desk of Zoe Washington is about a young girl whose father is incarcerated. So I included some material about the Innocence Project, or how having a parent or guardian that is in prison could affect someone, just so that not only do they get the opportunity to think about whether or not they want to read that book, but it gives them a basis for understanding the material that is presented in that book. So I put those on our student website, and then I also put them on my LibGuide, and then I also place them in Google Classroom for them every Friday. Because what I found in this digital world is it's kind of like social media. If you follow someone on social media, most of the time, if you see something posted on their Instagram, then you will most likely see that same stuff posted on their Facebook or on their Twitter, just in a different twist. And I think we have multiple outlets and multiple places to reach our students because there are different platforms where we can reach them.
I just have to hop in here real quick. I'm so sorry, but that is like such a fangirl moment for me that you do that. It's like you're triangulating it, so all your platforms are inundated with that, and the students have such a rich experience. Like,
Yes.
it's so cool in a digital world that you are making those connections, and I'm kind of just cheesing out. Sorry.
Oh, no,
And
thank you.
I wanted to hop in right before Heidi, or right after Heidi. The organization too, the pre-planning, the thoughtfulness that you've put into planning it, organizing it with the student in mind. So if they're at home, how can you connect with them? How can you encourage them? And I appreciate the planning and the intentionality to encourage kids, but you organize it. And I know in the chat, people were talking about how organized that you are and how amazing it is. I think they said you're the coolest ever. You're the best librarian, but it's true. I mean, that's a lot of work, but it's engaging kids in reading, and you put the time in. So thank you for sharing this and giving people ideas to organize.
Oh, thank you so much. And, I put on Twitter that I recently took my talents to TikTok against much hesitation, because I feel like my age level is a little bit too high for TikTok, but I'm trying it out because that's where the kids are. You have to go to where they are. They are digital people, and the platform that they prefer right now is TikTok. I feel like if I have to go in and pretend to be a character in Among Us, then I'm gonna find these kids and we're gonna read. So I go where they are. Another thing that we've done for reading promotion is we've had an author come and visit with our girls, Dr. Zetta Elliott, who has authored many, many books. But the one in particular that we were looking at with my students is Say Her Name. And she was actually very gracious enough to come and speak to them, and also donate some materials, some books to our students free of charge. And they really loved hearing her experience of being a Black woman and realizing that if you want the stories to exist with you as the main character, then you pick up a pen and you can write those very stories. My son, he's 16. I always talk about him. I said I wasn't going to mention him today, but he always tells me that he looks for stories of Black people just living life. Why does it always have to be in hardship? Why can't they just be in joy? And he just wants to pick up a story about a Black boy just having a regular day. And I said to him, pick up the pen or your tablet or whatever and write that story. It won't exist until somebody writes that story. And so I don't want to take up too much time, because I know I want to allocate my time to Dr. Reynolds as well. But when we talk about engaged inquiry, the teachers at my school have been very welcoming for me to come in and do lessons with the students to show them the resources that are available to them, such as Britannica and Gail. And also, not only do the content area teachers want to welcome in and connect that literacy piece, but even our related arts teacher, I did a lesson with the art teacher at my school, and we read poetry from Paint Me Like I Am, which is a book that was authored by students, and we connected that to some art by African American artists, and it was really powerful. The girls were really enjoying writing poetry and drawing at the same time. And I spoke briefly about this, but having access to ebooks, which is the A in our lead, is this really beneficial. And on our LibGuide, them having home access to all of these resources through Kentucky Virtual Library, through Gale, all of that helps them to have a better NTI experience because they don't have to go searching for things on Google. It's right there for them, and it's reliable. And then lastly, with digital skills, I have my STLP team, and we are working to create videos every week to show students how to utilize their iPad and how to be successful with their learning with their iPad. And we put those on the student site. We also put them on their student created site. They made their own STLP site, and they are really trying to create videos to show students how to use technology to uphold their crown values. At Grace James, we have crown values, which are collaboration, resiliency, originality, willingness, and narrative. So they want to show students, how do you collaborate with technology? How can you be resilient? If your grades are not where they want to be, or where you want them to be, how can you use technology to bounce back and get that grade that you want? So that's their project that they're working on. I also myself make videos when necessary if it's not something that they can do, and I post those on the student website for them on my LibGuide and in Google Classroom. We have, like a lot of other libraries have, we have a help ticket. If they have problems with their iPads, then we can use that Google form to assist them and get to them. And then lastly, what I just wanted to say was, like probably in September, I was thinking I really have to find a way to start building relationships with my students. And even Dr. Reynolds and I were talking about this last night. So I came up with this little club that I do. It's called Crafternoon, which I really thought I was being clever by coming up with that. But apparently it's something that already exists. Nothing new up under the sun, I guess. But what I do is I try to just find found media that they would already have in their house, and we create crafts with them. So most recently, we did where we made crowns, and then we made mug cakes, and they were just really excited to sit around and make mug cakes and chit chat on the Google Meet. And it's just really beneficial because what I find is the girls who I have a relationship with, when I do put out First Chapter Friday, they are the first people to open it. Or when I do say, who wants to do a fun project with Miss Graves, they're the first to jump on a meet because they have that relationship with me. So that's just in a nutshell what I've been doing.
I'm ready for your cooking show too, Sade.
Well, actually yesterday, they said, yeah, Miss Graves, can we do a cooking club? And I said, in January, but I think I'm going to have to invent a day because I'm running out of days.
Listen, I want to be in Crafternoon. Like, I want to join. I want to get in there with you. I love that. I love it.
So fun.
And I love your piece on access because I hear from kids and librarians and teachers that they don't like ebooks. And I try to accept that for what it is, but also I think it has to do with it's just not a good experience for them. They've not tried it enough to know what it feels like. So I didn't like ebooks either until I did it over and over again. Like, some of my best reading has been on my phone with the white text on a black background. I think just taking steps away. I remember back when Overdrive was kind of a new thing and it took like 15 clicks to get to your book. It's not that way anymore. I think some people have that kind of like stuck in their mind, that initial experience they had a while ago. It's a lot better than it used to be. So I like that access part you talked about.
Yeah, and Dr. Reynolds, she's going to share something that was really awesome, but I won't steal her thunder on access.
Well, I guess we're going to jump right in here. Sade, first of all, raise the roof. You did a good job. So good for you. I'm so excited to see where you're going in your career. I will start sharing. I am so excited to be here today. Thank you so much for having me. I believe exactly, what Sade believes in. Tell your story before they do. And I believe it in the work that we do personally, the life that we live, and I believe it professionally. And that is the one mantra that we have carried here at Library Media Services. Our stories have not been told, and we've been allowing the story of antiquated, outdated practices and ideas and perceptions rule. And I'm like, that is stopping like yesterday. So that I'll go right into where we are. As you all know, I created like everybody was Bitmoji crazy, but I was a little bit fearful. I created one, but then when I felt like they were getting all my information, I decided I'm going to age myself, that I needed to find another option. So I created our room in Canva. And that's another resource for people that if you want to so choose, they've got all kinds of layouts. But, and I also like creating my all authentic self, even with my bottom stomach and wide hips. I want my authentic self in the picture. And so I created this Canva form to let you know what we're going to talk about today. Dr. Polio charged us with making sure that we were leading with some good work going into NTI 2.0. And with that, we, as Sade said, about our vision and mission is lead. And we are leading with literacy, engaged inquiry, access, and digital skills. That frames everything that we do. But we are leading from we based everything as we started in the fall around student-centered resources, library program support, and professional growth and learning, because if you're not growing or learning, well, you're sleeping. So I still believe that we should be learning and growing. I don't care how many years we are in it. We need to be learning and growing. This is year 30 for me. I am so excited, and I'm not tired yet, as the old song says. I'm not tired yet. I was 13 years as a classroom teacher, 7 years as an elementary and a middle librarian. And then I was 6.5 to 7 years as a high school librarian. And then I've been in this role for 3 years. Seems longer some days, sorry. So when we started this approach, one thing as to segue from what Sade said, letting people know what we do and what we offer and how we should be leading is on us and on how we brand and market ourselves. And so that's been part of our mission here in Library Media Services as a district, to make sure people know what we're doing. And so I got the opportunity here recently to make sure people are learning it. And so here's some of the things that we offer. I'm just doing a big overview, and then I'll get in depth here in a bit. But this is who we are. I cannot do this work alone. As a matter of fact, there are more brilliant people that are behind the scenes doing it. And I'm going to mention them by name because they matter. Janet Lanham, who's our instructional lead. Karen Pruitt, who leads technical services and makes sure that the librarians can lead from the library, because she's overseeing the 30,000 books that are getting processed, and the behind the scenes processes worked. And then Pam, who's another instructional resource librarian, and Nancy and Sarah and Jessica, who all do great work. And I'm not going to play this video because I want to make sure we have time to see some of the resources, but it is part of the, I've shared it with Kentucky Go Digital, so you have it and you can play it at your leisure. here's what we do, here's everybody and how we are leading and how we are given access and support during this time that's uncertain. Because one of the big questions is, how do you lead in such a time that is so uncertain when you don't know where you're going? And so my answer to that is, you put on your shoes and sometimes boots, and with my kids, sometimes my Timberlands and sometimes my heels, to march forward into wherever the direction is going, just as long as you keep moving. And that's what I think about 2020, NTI. We can't fix all the issues that are going on, but we can do something. And that's the world of which I live. So as I showed you, this picture was taken in September, and this is how many books we processed and how many boxes we got shipped. We shipped at the end of September so that they could all get to the schools. This area right here is the one thing I want to spend some time with, because professional development and growth is extremely important, especially for our new librarians who are coming in at a time that you're not face-to-face. None of the practices are norms. It's just difficult. But our instructional lead librarian, Janet Lanham, who is the bomb, she has the cohort files, and I'm going to show you a couple of them just to show you the work that goes behind the planning of that each day. So she has the web mix, the cohort information, the agendas for each meeting every week, and the evaluation of it. And if you were I'm gonna just indulge me here for a minute. She has web mixes for every month or overall picture. And I am always so impressed by what she produces. But the reason that I love it so is that it will take you, and I don't want to talk about, I'm not going to keep going through 15 links, but whatever you need for a month, it is on there as a librarian. You can access it and implement it in your school. And so I want to make sure that I showcase this, because this is one of the things for me that if we do not grow our up and coming leaders, our librarians, they're going to leave before they get inundated into the profession that is so good. And so we have organized our support around the zones, and here are the leaders for each zone. We have 5 zones, 3 elementary, because we have 94 elementary schools or programs, and then 23 middle and 22 high. And I may be off on one of those numbers. But how we have supported that is they have zone meetings bi-weekly, and they meet with everyone in their zone so that there's this connection, so that they're learning from one another. Because as you all know, based on Kentucky Digital, we honestly learn from each other better than we are sitting in a room of people most of the time. So this is what came out of one of the zone meetings that I have just shared with everyone. And I have asked for permission to share this out. And I'm going to go to the virtual shells, which I love. So just indulge me here in a minute. But one of the leaders, Teresa Mayer at Farmer Elementary, was trying to find a way to give access to all her kids. And then her teachers started saying, well, can you create one for this subject? And I mean, it blew up. And as you can see, I get really, really excited about it, like, quick. But I am a girl nerd and a book nerd and all things picture nerd. So as you can see, as I am clicking through some of the titles, the genres, the ones that the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, they're all there. And I'm going to show you what's going to happen here in a minute. We did one, like Hawthorne Elementary is a Spanish English immersion school. And so this they loved. The one that I want to get to is the sports, and I always love this one. I can't play sports, but my brother can, and he played basketball, but I was not that girl. This book goes straight to our KYVL website from the state, but she just created the shell so that the kids would just go to the shelf and find whatever book they wanted. And as you can see, they just click right through the book and it's right there. And it has been a game changer for our students in the district. They are having more access to ebooks because, as James spoke about, sometimes they don't like all the words on a screen. They want to see some pictures or some action or whatever, and this allows that to do so. I'm going to go back here just to do a different one, a Spanish book. And as you can see, this is KYBL, and I'm sure everyone in Kentucky has access to KYBL, and then you can create your bookshelf, whichever way you want to, and just link it so that it goes straight to the book, which is fascinating, lovely, brilliant, and I give all kudos to Teresa and Laura and their team that created it. And now everybody is just really loving the access to it. Does anybody want to squeal at this moment?
Yes.
I'm like losing my mind because this is so amazing. I have to
I
say, like,
so love it.
I love it. One thing I constantly am advocating for is that we get students to where they need to be in the fewest clicks possible. Like, if we can get them there in 3 clicks, we are like doing a world of good during this NTI business. And I have to tell you, game changer.
Oh,
I
love it too.
So that book is from the EBSCO K8 collection, which is from KYVL, and
yes,
one of the most awesome things is it's simultaneous read. So your entire class can click on that book at the same time and be
absolutely
reading the same thing and not have to check it out.
Yeah, I so love this because you all may not know this, but you probably do. One major issue for me is giving kids access because everyone does not have access. Every parent can't buy Amazon. Where you can just get the book in 2 days. It can't happen. It's lovely and it's a great idea, but it's not reality. And I would have been one of those children, and I contend that no one loves their child or loved their child more than my mom loved me, but she would not have known or been able to for monetary reasons or even skill set to even access what we're doing. So I get really fired up, and one of my major goals was making sure that just the East End schools didn't have and the West End schools didn't. And I know that's probably taboo to say, but as I told you in the beginning, my mom said I wouldn't have lived through the 60s and she wasn't so sure it's gonna make it out of the 80s. I believe speaking truth to power, because that's the only time when that's the only way you can change things. And I wanted to make sure that what we had in the East End, they also have in the West End, because giving access can change the trajectory of a child's life. And that, I will move on. So
I think, you know what, I want to say that when we look at the silver lining between all this that's happened, I think this is something that's definitely going to stick. What do you think? Do you think this little piece is going to be like stuck, never changed? It's just, we would not have found it if this all hadn't happened. So it's a silver lining.
And with this happening, see, I really do see that usually things launch us into the place and the direction that we should have been going all along. But sometimes I wanted to go to Tuskegee, but I couldn't go there for obvious reasons. But then there's a quote there that says, and it's a little iron statue, and it's a little girl pulling a curtain back. And the statue says, every now and then God pulls back the curtain and allows us to see a little bit of what's next, and I'm paraphrasing it. And I love that. It stuck with me. I went when I was 18 years old. And that reminds us, this right here, the pandemic, being out of school for almost a year now, has revealed and given a lens to equity in the sense that kids don't have access to broadband or whatever. And I'm not just talking about brown and black children. I'm talking about poverty, children of poverty that don't have access to the things that will change their lives and their families' lives. And so this is going to change the game, because we as educators will not go back. I will not go back to the way we were. So I'll get lost on my soapbox, so y'all know that. But I wanted to make sure that I share some of the things that we are doing in this district moving forward. We are having school broadcasts. One of our librarians at Bowen Elementary, the kids create it from home. They create the script, and they present it themselves on the morning in their morning meeting, and it is fascinating. And one of them does the song of the week or whatever, and I so love it. Any questions on this?
We just
Great.
have lots and lots of things on the chat just saying they love this, and keep sharing, because this is definitely a game changer. No going back. So.
Okay. Exactly. Well, we have also in areas created curbside checkout. One of our librarians, Amy Lyons at Westport, she takes her books and goes to the other end of town and sets up in a parking lot at another school so kids can come and get books, because there are a group of kids that still want a book in their hand. There's too much screen time for some of them, and they want that book, and we want them to have it. And I think it's not a one size fits all, and we need to try to make sure we can meet the needs of all of our children. So there's been virtual events. Sade spoke about some of them. One of our star librarians is Victor Derigot. They call him Mr. D at Camera. He does a million little things, and I can't even tell you how brilliant he is. But the Lego Club created a model of him, as y'all can see down there in the picture, which I am so grateful for. Students participated in the Rebuild Challenge, which I love. 2021, the Changemaker Challenge will be honoring everyday heroes, and it doesn't have to just be the people like the firemen. We love them, and the nurses we do, but it can be teachers too, because we're heroes too. So I always like to put that plug out there. We're always telling everybody they have to be doctors and lawyers. No, you don't. You can be a teacher and you can change the world. You can be a librarian and you can move a mountain. So I want to get that in there. We had people participate in the Global Read Aloud, and I think this is necessary because we live in such a limited lens, even adults. Learning about the world shows students that they're part of something bigger than where they are. And that's such an important piece. It's an important piece also for adults. So if we get the kids equipped and educated, then we can shift and make sure that the adults are too. Just a small moment there for that. There are virtual book clubs and author visits. Our Nancy Chiara helped host for Low, an author, and it was fascinating and wonderful, and the kids had a great time. There's just so many wonderful things that you can do. This one right here, I do want to talk about, because this is one of those things that you just we don't get enough space to discuss. So content collaborations are a big deal. And we want them to continue more when we are brick and mortar and right now. But what happened with this, that a social studies teacher went to the librarian at Ballard High School, and there's two of them there, over 2,000 students. And what happened was Stephanie Conrad printed the projects, and in collaboration with WLOU, an employee and former educator Ronald Jones, they assisted in the distribution of these projects, and the librarians reached out to the League of Women Voters about possible recipients for the flyers. The students created flyers about get out the vote and why you should vote in a more marginalized area, and it created this excitement and inclusivity and engagement around the election and voting. And the kids created it. They mailed the flyers and the postcards. I so love this. I can't even tell you how it has, when you've got disconnected people, finding a way to engage them is so crucial And we should be doing that in schools. People think that that should be out. No, it should be happening in schools. And I am so proud of our 2 librarians that participate. They're always doing community connection projects. I mean, it's something every year that they blow out of the water. And this year they did it in the fall with a collaboration with a social studies teacher. And it was amazing. And people wanted to vote. The kids were excited about voting. They made sure people went to vote and all of those things. So I'm going to wrap up because I think we're getting close here. Let me tell you what we're doing for the season that we're in this anti-racist time. And I think it's important, and I don't want to miss the moment to share. So, you know, we all have a small sphere of influence that we manage. And I've always been in a mind of teaching. It's what God called me to do, and I take it seriously. But how do you teach such a subject that is hard to teach and hard to live through yourself? So we as a department decided to do a book study with our department. I have 22 people on staff, and we purchased a book. And each week we broke it up to do for 8 weeks every Tuesday. And I know everyone doesn't have the luxury to do that, so I'm aware. But I'm going to tell you, this was a game changer for our department. It built our culture. We have a more connected culture. We know more about each other. We took this book that is a YA book. So I didn't want to do a big adult book. I love YA anyway. And we took this book, and each week we met, shared moments, discussed, and then every one of our staff, classified and certified, got engaged and brought stories back to share with one another. It has moved mountains in exposure, awareness, because most of the time people just don't know. And when they know, they can do something about it. So with this alignment of our racial equity plan and policy, we want to make sure that we're not just not a racist, but we are anti-racist. And the things that we do, the practices that we do, the decisions that we make in spending resources and supporting schools is based on that we are anti-racist. We are going to make sure that we ask the tough questions. And so we do that. There's been, LMS has created a lot of lists, and she talked about our LibGuides. Our LibGuides have a new face because we have updated our banners and trying to redo the list so that it's not so comprehensive and hard to get to places. We're growing and evolving. So this is our LibGuide, and we have, you know, we have a collection that for every level that is culturally responsive text. And I love this because I want people to use their energy and time on creating good lessons, not always in having to find them. And so here's our K-2 culturally responsive titles. They have access to them, they know what they are, and then in some of them, there's a lot of lessons connected. Our team is working on lessons to roll out to our schools. We, as a department, make all the decisions to support every school at every level. And all the administrators, because a lot of times people just don't know what we do. And I wanted to end here with, you know, moving forward, our vision and mission is timely. It is lead. We will continue to lead from the library, and we're going to continue moving forward. Remote brick and mortar, we're not going back to our old landmark. We are going to have aligned instructional supports. We're going to have equitable collections that are diverse. We're gonna, you know, work with inquiry skills, because that's what I feel is really, really missing. We're going to improve digital citizenship. We have to, because the information platform is so vast. And if we don't teach our kids to have that level, we're going to look back on this time and say, man, we should have taught that. And then we're going to make sure that the foundation of what we do, kids and adults are strong in literacy, because literacy is the foundation of all things successful. So that's my message today. That's how we're leading. And you know, my favorite thing, nobody does school libraries like JCPS. We do reading and we do fun. And I want you all to know that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reynolds and Sade. We've got tons of people that are on the chat saying they need this resource, and mic drop, and you guys have done a great job explaining what you guys do and doing what you do. So we thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Got a bunch of viewers today. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Matt?
Yeah. Thank you both for an amazing show. This was just awesome. And thank you, everybody, chat side, for tuning in as well. Elaine, do you want to tell everybody how they can continue to stay supported and connected with Kentucky Go Digital?
Absolutely. So you can stay connected with us on KentuckyGoDigital.com or KYGoDigital.com. Make sure that you share all these awesome things that you've learned on today's show on the hashtag KYGoDigital on Twitter. And also, we like to learn from you too. So share that, share those things as well with that hashtag. We will be back after the new year and announce those. So look on Twitter as well as Facebook for those announcements of who's coming up next.
And can I say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all those things to everybody out there. Stay safe. Tell your families that you love them. Spend time with the people that you need to, and remember that we are going to get to the other side of this. We will be on the other side. And you know, I'm asking my nieces and nephews right now, what will you say that you've done in this season, and will there be evidence of that? And so I want to leave everybody maybe with that. You know, if you heal and relax and whatever, then that's what you needed to do in this season. But if you got something bubbling up inside of you that needs to be exalted, then exalt it.
Perfectly said. Thank you. All right. Well, everybody have a good afternoon, and we'll see you on the hashtag. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.